1. Atela's mythology. You are listening at FameTV.info. How did the three worlds come about? Why is it bonded by disunity? Why is Earth the weakest planet? This is nothing but a theory about the quaint universe. Some believe it, some don't. It all started with three assumed entities: the raindrop, the star, and the flame. From a distinct place of origination, far away from Atela, they set out to practice a concept they just learned: the creation of worlds. To form a distinct planet and give it a synchronized heart of life. Critics have it that Atela might not be the only universe. It might also not be three planets in particular. However, there was no proof for any of the cases. Every world had a sugar-coated version of their supreme deity, and other planets in return spoke unfavorably about those beliefs. For instance, majority of the humans believed their raindrop was a spirit of adoration, care, elegance, and freedom, while the other gods were deceitful, an infernal nuisance, and vile. Humans saw the raindrop as an excellent spirit who gave them a great world to live in, organized its creation flawlessly to have arms, legs, a head, and a mind of their own to make choices whenever it was called for. The humans claimed the flame and the star were plagiarists, and demanded Earth be given the respect and freedom they deserved, but the other worlds weren't going to consent to what they found as a minor supposition. The oppressing worlds refused to listen to vague ideas put in place by the human race. The Cleric Council's conclusion was that Earth sought favors, but were never going to get it by lying. Humans believed their god was envied, raindrop, and the flame and star created counterfeits upon counterfeits and didn't give them the acknowledgement they deserved. Although the other worlds hadn't come up with their own creation story, they still stood strong on their point that their respective deity was the good one, while the others were fiends. To humans, everything was the raindrop's idea: the sky, the clear water, the fresh air exhaled by the multitude of trees, and the terrains that stretch out far and wide. Apart from the sun that show up in the sky of the Earth, the other two planets can be seen enjoying what God Raindrop took its time to brainstorm about. The star and the flame were accused by the humans to have offended the entity they worship and reproach its ideas when they were doing the same thing it did. If the raindrop stopped, they stopped too. If the raindrop continued, they'd watch and try out what they learned. Unfortunately for them, it was difficult to duplicate precisely what the raindrop started. The second world that was created was the Beastman world, and it was said that the race the star created was by accident. The Beastmen countered that, but the humans skillfully brought forth a further explanation for the Beastmen's opposition. Even if it wasn't an accident, it was impossible to deny the fixed fact that their origin was an after-effect of the star's thought of what would happen if it intertwined. The raindrop's initiation of animals and humans. For example, a cat and a girl, it named that kind Catgirl. A wolf and a man, a wolfman. The humans were awfully triumphing in the debate, but the crit of that theory was that it didn't apply to all species. Fishes and other aquatic vertebrates in the sea weren't made to share similarities with humans. But most animals that harp ashore were altered to look like humans. They could walk, interact, and do what's considered normal to humans. So, the concept of beastmen being a mistake was just disparage made by those who despised them. Be that as it may, the fact about beastmen being a new version of humans after being the second race to be created might be valid. Unlike the deity of the beastman, the raindrop separated its beings from animals and gave them distinct roles. It also permitted humans to eat animals and vegetables but not themselves. For a human to eat the flesh of another human was completely forbidden because the raindrop had blessed its creation with enough food. Despite having similarities with animals, the beastmen were permitted to eat animals, although it could be personal choice and preferences. A wolfman could be a vegetarian if that's what's preferred. Whatever they eat isn't a problem. Most of them stick to instincts and prey on the animals who had no intelligence or general human characteristics. In the end, their food culture is a typical food chain sequence. The critical part of the argument is how the humans believed they were played. Once the raindrop sealed its creations and looked over at the other entities who were still keen on rebuking the fact that the raindrop was more creative than they'd ever been, they tried as much as possible to revamp, but it was clear they made use of every one of the raindrop's ideas. Once the star came up with something of its own, it decided to keep it to itself. It forged a magic system the raindrop's normal humans didn't possess. for the beastmen to be able to use the magic in a way humans could never. They needed a natural sense of craft and strength 3 times greater than an average human. The star didn't hesitate to give its beastmen magic, so they'd be better than humans. The star sealed its world as soon as it was done perfecting whatever needed to be perfected. Even though the star didn't mention magic to its counterparts, little did it know, the god of the third world was spying. The flame manipulated the inspiration it got from its foes and created what it called monsters by consolidating 2 creatures to form one. That he gave them strength that was 2 times greater than that of the star's beastmen. It also gave them intelligence, battle skill, and dark magic which outmatched the star's basic magic. The raindrop and star had no clue that the flame permitted its creations to eat both beastmen and humans whether they shared similarities with them or not. With that simple measure taken, the flame sealed its world. The worlds were arranged according to their respective power level, and the human world was positioned the weakest. On top was the flame's world which it named Eric's, in the middle was the star's world, Sol, and lastly, the human world, Earth. Nothing could be done. The humans didn't possess any magical powers, and they never will. Their present state was already irrevocable. The raindrop was offended by the sly deities who couldn't share such an important idea before he sealed his world. The flame and star showed no remorse whatsoever, and the raindrop had itself to blame. I politely request for our worlds to live in harmony. That was the raindrop's last wish before they all began to fade. The raindrop hoped the other divinities would consent to its request before it was too late, but in a split-second they returned to their distant places of origination, leaving their universe without a defined rule of peace, and the planet to suffer the most was Earth. Listen to the full novel at FameTV.info, direct link in the description.